question you're asking. You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Okay. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions in a straightforward, rational way? You certainly have the IQ to do it.
So shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
It is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
you just called me a sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government is run.
You want to count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about AIPAC?
I never asked about the Jews. This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means. This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you for conflating the two. Now, because
Except you don't want to do anything about it.
Decisions need to be made.
We can talk about those decisions.
And I plan to.
Good.
But I just want to get a sense of whether you think, having described yourself as an America First person whose only criterion for judgment on foreign policy is America's national interest, to what extent you're influenced by a foreign government, which gives you a lot of money through its lobby, and you're claiming this has nothing to do with the foreign government. They're not coordinating. Yes, they're spying on us, but it doesn't bother you. And I'm sort of wondering, like, what is this? This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had.
I'll tell you what.
Why aren't you more panicked that thousands of people, by their own admission, the admission of the British government, are arrested every year for saying words, not threats, words?
I am. I've expressed
So why doesn't someone try to overthrow the government? I don't understand. How can they treat you like slaves if you put up with it?
If they carry on down that road.
Well, they are carrying it on. It's thousands a year, and it's getting more.
Then they will be voted out of office. I guarantee it. Yes. That's how
Is that what Winston Churchill would say? I think Winston Churchill said, even if a strong man tries to take Poland, a country we've got nothing to do with, it's not even close to here, we're going to risk the lives of our citizens to liberate Poland.
Poland is closer to here than your home is to New York.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
So it's all relative. So it's
a tiny little Lego Europe. I get it.
If Maine got attacked, would you expect people in New York to help you?
Poland has nothing to do with it.
If Maine got attacked, would you expect people in New York to help you?
It's the same country.
Okay. But you're actually further.
Kind of a big distinction.
Well,
my country's quite large.
We were part of Europe, the same continent.
You were not part of. I call bullshit on that.
Really?
In 1940, you were not part of Europe.
You don't think? Well, of course we're
you were definitely not part of.
We're on the continent of Europe.
You are not on the continent. You're an island, dude, off the continent, separated by a body of water. Do you know what it's called between you and France? It's called the English Channel.
I know what
you are not part of Europe. That is not true.
We are part of
My ancestors lived here. You were not. You were England.
We are part of Europe.
France was considered exotic and crazy. That's where the prostitutes and the cheese eaters lived. It's only the brainwashing of Tony Blair and all these technocrats since who've convinced you you're European. You're way better than European. You're an ancient Germanic Celtic people who ruled the world. Do you remember that in your wooden ships? Anyway, but the point is, no, I'm serious.
You did. Some crap sometimes.
No, it's totally real.
Crap. Come on.
With the mask from Maine, White Pines. But the point is, your country went to war to preserve human rights in another country you had nothing to do with. But human rights are evaporating in your own country, and it's cool because you have soccer games with foreigners at them and good burrata.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying maybe something about the heroic British spirit has been diminished with time. That's all I'm saying.
Your dig at the United States is very revealing.
Why is it revealing?
Because your priorities are very clear.
No.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And as an American, permit me a moment of outrage. Because I said many civilians have been killed.
Yeah.
And you said, right in the middle of your elaborate defense of the IDF's killing of civilians, including children, you said they do a better job than the United States does. That's my country and my government.
It's
which
my
I
country.
consider.
What flag am I wearing here?
Well, I'm asking, why is
What flag am I wearing?
Well, that's, of course, my flag as well.
And it's my flag. It's who I serve.
So why the dig at the United States in the middle?
It's not a dig at them. No. You've totally misrepresented
What did you mean by that?
I did not take a dig at the U.S. What I'm saying is...
So the IDF is more humane than the U.S.?
You talked a little bit about immigration, and in the past you've talked about how white Australians, Americans, Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants in what is often referred to as the Great Replacement Theory. This is the same...
Have I said that whites are being replaced?
Well...
I don't think I said that.
Well, it's been mentioned on your show 4,000 times. And
really, when did I say that?
On your show.
I said whites are being replaced?
You have said that before.
Really?
Yeah.
I would challenge you to cite that, because I'm pretty sure I haven't said that. I said
mean,
native-born Americans are being replaced, including blacks. We just met, but when our relationship starts with a lie, it makes it tough to be friends.
Same theory, or as you say, idea, that has inspired the New York Buffalo shooting where 11 black Americans were killed. Two white Americans were killed.
Like,
it's also inspired...
it's not, first of all...
It's inspired one of the worst Australian guns
How do they
of all
get
time
people
to
this
shoot
stupid in the media? I guess it doesn't pay well. Look, I'm sorry. I've lived among people like you for too long, and I don't mean to call you stupid. Maybe you're just pretending to be, but I'm totally against violence. A sovereign person has the right to defend himself and his family. Period. And that said, I'm totally opposed to harming anyone. Are you concerned about the war in Ukraine?
I think you and I agree. We have both been critical of the Israeli government. I just want to kind of clarify terms a bit here.
Well, I've really been critical of the Israeli government.
I've been plenty critical of the Israeli government. I told you at the beginning that we were against this war.
What do you think of Gaza?
What do I think of Gaza?
Yeah.
I think the war in Gaza, to start with, was a perfectly reasonable response in response to the horrors of October 7th. I think now the places, I've been there. Have you been to Gaza? I've been to Gaza since the war started.
They would not
it's
let
catastrophic.
me into Gaza. Trust me, very few journalists get into Gaza.
Yeah, no, I went with the IDF. It's the only way that you can go in. But nonetheless, you go in and you see a flattened place. I think it is a disaster for the future of Israel, a disaster for the Palestinian people, a horror, 70,000 people dead.
Why would you describe it first as a disaster for the future of Israel? You've got tens of thousands of civilians murdered, but it's foremost a disaster for the future of Israel. No, it's foremost a disaster for the families of the dead kids.
Absolutely. I made 3 points.
Because everybody sucks up to Israel in this way that suggests they're afraid. And everyone is afraid, and you know that. Everyone's like, the real problem is calling people anti-Semites allows real anti-Semites to flourish. It's like, no, actually, the real problem with calling people anti-Semites who aren't is accusing the innocent of a crime they didn't commit. And the real crime in Gaza is killing people who did nothing wrong. So those are the real problems, I would say. But no one can say it because you have to be like, oh no, but really, October 7th.
I don't know what you're talking about, Carlson. We're having a
everyone watching this knows what I'm talking about.
And I would use moral suasion to try to effectuate the regime change.
Okay, so you topple the regime by whatever means. What happens then? How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah.
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even. You don't know anything about Iran, so
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who claims anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay, we are not.
Thanks for your speech.
Of course.
Mr. Carlson. The media can be extremely negative, so it's nice to hear uplifting comments about our country.
It's an amazing country.
It is, and I think we forget that in Australia oftentimes, so I appreciate that. You've preempted my question on Putin.
Putin!
I think you did strategically because you knew it's what we'd ask.
Putin! He's so bad!
And I also appreciate that...
Did he make you take the COVID shot?
Take the what?
The COVID shot? No, he didn't. Sorry.
The COVID shot saved probably tens of millions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Safe and effective. This is why everyone loves the media.
Probably 100 times more lives than Putin has killed in Ukraine.
It's like a time capsule. It's like you're like the last Japanese soldier on Okinawa. You think the war's still going. Oh, it's hilarious. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm being boorish.
You see elaborate arguments on behalf of doing so or ignoring it. Oh, that always happens in war. Well, you're right. One of the reasons I'm not that into wars. But when it does happen, unavoidably, we have to say that's wrong. We have to say that. We have to acknowledge that was wrong. And I'm sorry for the extent to which I participated in it. Forgive me. Because killing people who committed no crime is immoral. It will always be immoral. And people who do it will be punished for it. And nations that endorse it will be punished for it. That's a fact. And you are seeing now a very intense effort to convince you otherwise. Oh, it's fine. They deserved it. Really, do their children deserve it? If a man commits a crime, do we kill his kids? I don't care if it's in Minneapolis or Gaza City. No, we don't. And if we do accidentally, we say, I am so sorry that we murdered someone who did nothing wrong, because it is murder. And to see Christian pastors make excuses for that is one of the most, and that's not a partisan question. That is not a political question. That is the only question that matters. Do we have the right to murder people? And the resounding answer that Christianity provides us is no. I don't get into...
What's your take on whether we should be sending money to Ukraine or not? Were you in favor of that?
Man, they need it.
I mean, honestly, I don't have a good answer. You know, I can make an argument both ways, and half my family is Ukrainian from my grandparents. And so, you know, personally, I think we should help, but I don't have a studied answer for you.
How much money have you sent to Ukraine?
None.
Oh, so what do you mean by we? You're the one whose family's from Ukraine. Like, why don't you send them $1 billion?
Because I'm trying to fix healthcare.
Why don't you fix their healthcare if you're like so deep? If you think we need to help, why don't you start? How about you first? Yeah. I notice that's never like even an option for anybody. It's like, we need to help. That's not what charity is. Forcing other people to help is not charity.
Here's the good
vanity.
News. The good news is...
Let's say you have one job and two people, and you make the decision, the deciding factor is the race of one of the people. One person is being hurt because he's the wrong race. Why is that okay?
Because he's gotten 350, maybe 400 years of benefit for the right
Do you
race.
know him?
Okay.
Or are you just hold on,
if in the
do you
United
know
States,
that? All you know about him is his race, and yet you're saying that he's benefited.
Exactly.
But you don't know anything about him other than his race. So you're saying that all people of a certain color have something in common, which is kind of the definition of racism, isn't it?
No, that's also the definition of discrimination, because all African-American people in the United States have something in common. It's that they were discriminated against.
If it's
you
the
don't know
60s
or the 50s,
the guy,
they have something in common in that they were subject to lynching.
From Belgium yesterday.
He could have.
He has no connection to it, but you think it's okay to deny him something because of his color.
I think that the system itself, in order to fix what is the one original sin of this country,
we need more racism
has
to fix
correct
racism.
itself. I don't consider that racism
it's not
at all.
racism. When you do it, it's not racism.
If I am in
NATO
power,
at all. You shouldn't have
NATO at all. Oh, that's preposterous.
What's the point of NATO?
To keep
the Soviets from invading Western Europe. Oh, well, it's been 35 years since they existed.
To keep peace.
How's that worked? To keep peace.
Actually,
we now have the bloodiest war in 80 years in the middle of Europe because of NATO. So how's this peacekeeping activity?
Or you could argue, as many people do, that actually the reason is because Ukraine wasn't in NATO. Had it been, Putin wouldn't have invaded.
That's a super crazy. This is like an addiction, and I've been through addiction, so I'm not judging at all, but it's like, I feel really shitty. I've got to have a glass of vodka to feel better.
Are you mocking my mental health?
Yes. But I'm also saying that I've lived this, so I know what it feels like. It's the thing that is killing you. It's truly killing you, whether it's NATO or vodka, you become convinced is saving you. So you wake up hungover and you're like, oh, I feel so bad. Give me a screwdriver. And if you have a screwdriver, you feel better. And you don't realize that you're starting the cycle again.
Would Putin have invaded Ukraine if it had been a member of NATO? No, he wouldn't have done. Because then America would have been obliged to respond.
Here's what I know. For a fact, Putin said this for 20 years. Ukraine cannot be a member of NATO. They will not accept that any more than we would accept Chinese missiles in Tijuana, or you would accept Sri Lankan missiles in Glasgow. You're just not going to accept that.
NATO is a defensive organization.
How is it defensive?
Because it has never acted proactively, aggressively.
Really? Where were you when the Yugoslavia war was going on? They were bombing the shit out of Christians in Yugoslavia. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was pretty offensive.
NATO has always operated in a defensive capacity.
Really?
Yes.
That's how they created Kosovo? Defensively?
It was defensive.
Oh, it was?
Yes, it was.
Who was the aggressor there?
Well, you know, my brother-in-law was literally there.
Just a minute. What you're saying is insane.
It's not insane. NATO has never actually acted unilaterally.
Okay, so the Soviet Union collapses.
It's never attacked anybody without being attacked. It's always been defensive.
Okay, who in Yugoslavia attacked NATO?
Look.
Just no. Here's the point where you just admit defeat. Bow your head and be like, you know what? I bow before superior knowledge. I totally got this wrong. I can't believe I had such a silly idea. I'm
deeply
what Americans think, and if the overwhelming majority are against it, in what sense does it matter? Because what I hear is it matters what they think, but it really doesn't matter what they think because...
No, you take it in. You certainly ingest that.
And then what do you do with it once you ingest it?
Then you make sure that you have... No,
you just gotta... It goes out the other end, obviously.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, Tucker. But you also have information that the average American may not have. They may not know what the threat is. How many Americans know that Hezbollah is in 12 Western Hemisphere countries?
How many Americans care?
Well, I would hope they would all care. How many Americans know how many people from Iran, from terrorist cells, have come across Joe Biden's open border? How many Americans care about that?
I definitely care about that.
Okay, you care about it.
Why haven't they been rounded up?
But they're trying. But you got all these blue state mayors and governors making it very difficult.
I get it.
But thank God President Trump is trying to get it done.
Look, I'm totally all for that completely.
Okay.
I guess what I'm saying is that most Americans, I've never met an American who thinks, other than like the people who have ideological reasons to pretend they think it, that the imminent threat to America is anything having to do with Iran. The imminent threats to America include like bankruptcy from too much debt, your son ODing on fentanyl, your neighborhood completely changing because unlike Israel, Americans don't have a right to their country. It can just be completely changed by their legislature. New people can show up from foreign countries and not speak your language, and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't have a right because you're not Bibi. Can you feel the resentment? Because it's real. I'm not against Israel. I'm against the total destruction.
You hide that very well.
I'm mad at my lawmakers for not protecting my country with the care they've protected Israel.
The comments you made at Charlie Kirk's funeral, received a big backlash, well beyond,
That's not. I recounted the Christian gospel, and if you think the Christian gospel is anti-Semitic, I can't help you. It's not. I mean, but by the way, the person who wrote the words that I read was Jewish. Almost every character in the entire New Testament is Jewish. I think that racism in all its forms is evil and anti-Christian, including anti-Semitism, because blood guilt is not a Christian concept. Now, it's a concept in other religions, I notice, but it's not a concept in my religion. We reject blood guilt. You are not responsible for what your ancestors did, period. Your DNA does not determine your moral value, period. That's the Christian perspective. That is not the perspective of the Israeli government, which is killing women and children in Gaza because they're all terrorists, because they're all Palestinian. I'm a Christian. I reject that. I will never accept that. That's against my religion. So when I stand up and recount the Christian gospel, people are like, oh, you're Hitler. That says more about you than it does about me.
But do you have no regrets over that?
No regrets about explaining the Christian gospel? No, I don't. I wish I'd done it earlier.
But the implication in that speech was that there is, and you said it earlier today, whatever the death of Charlie Kirk was.
I don't work by implication. I work by statement. I'm not a woman. I don't imply things. I state them. And telling the truth to the authorities in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago, the truth about them. They were illegitimate. He said that to them. They plotted his murder. And the point I was making, not by implication, but by statement, is that you can't kill the truth. It doesn't matter if you kill the person. The truth lives on because truth is eternal. There are ethno-narcissists who believe every conversation is about them, who are like, oh, that's racist, whatever. No, that's Christianity.
Why would you, as the American economy sits on the cusp of collapse, when the U.S. dollar is worth less than it's ever been worth, when our debt service is more than our defense spending, and when robotics are eliminating entire classes of jobs for working class people, why would you admit illegally tens of millions of people from the poorest countries in the world with no skills? Why would you do that? Is there some crazy plan the Chamber of Commerce, which is for it, by the way, has, where this is going to, I don't know, make labor cheaper? No. There's no plan. That will destroy the country, and that's why they're doing it.
Couple things. And Nick Fuentes has said a long list of very vile things.
Big time, including attacking my dad, which was the most vile of all, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have watched videos of him questioning the Holocaust, likening it to baking cookies in the oven, and there's no way you could have gotten to 6 million, seems to be his theory. He seemed to think that we've way overstated the number of Jews killed in the Holocaust. He's ripped on poor Usha Vance in the most offensive terms, which I mean, so what do you say to those people who say, why didn't you raise any of that?
Do your own interview the way that you want to do it. You're not my editor. Buzz off. I mean, I don't know. You want to go yell at Nick Fuentes? I'll give you his cell. Call him and go sit and yell at him and feel virtuous or whatever. That's up to you. I got the same thing with Putin. Why aren't you yelling at him? Okay, why? So I can show that I'm a good person? I care about what my wife thinks, my children think, and God thinks, and that's it. I don't need to prove that I'm a good person to you.
You may think I'm a terrible person. Okay, I'm just doing my thing.
And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying this. So I think it's better just to say it right out loud. Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you. And I think our answer should be, no. As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not? And yet everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry, when it's not. It's a baseline question that every U.S. citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell was this? And by the way, if it turns out that it was nothing at all, that somehow Jeffrey Epstein really did earn $165 million giving tax advice to somebody, which is, for the record, a lot more than most people pay their accountants, and that none of this was actually a foreign intel operation, and that there was no blackmail involved, that actually Bill Gates was just hanging on the island because the weather was especially good. No one was videotaped doing anything immoral or illegal, and then that was used against them to get them to obey. If all of that is false, then just tell me how it's false. But don't call me a lunatic.
Islam is a greater threat than the Jews.
Yeah, is the problem with the Muslims of Europe that they're too Muslim or that they're criminals?
Well,
I mean,
that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's not, though, actually. And it's not. You know that the same people who are like, Islam is the problem, are the same people who brought us all these Muslims here, crying anti-Semitism constantly, telling me I can't have free speech rights because there's anti-Semitism, are the same people telling us that we have to hate Muslims because they're Muslim. Well, and how is hating Muslims better than hating Jews? Where did we get all these Muslims here after 9/11? They all came after 9/11.
Yeah.
Who encouraged that, exactly? Who encouraged that? And it's a lot of the same people who are now encouraging us to hate Muslims, actually. Why are there twice as many Christians living in Qatar as there are in Israel, do you think?
Twice as many Christians in Qatar as...
In Qatar. Yeah, the Islamist slave state that we hear so much about. But there are twice as many Christians living there as in Israel. And they can leave if they want. They came freely, but there are twice as many in Qatar. Why do you think that is?
Can they build churches?
Yeah, actually the state gave them the land for their churches. But why is that if what you're saying is true? Because it's not true, actually.
Who have read the Quran, which I've done a couple times. I read through the Quran.
Yeah.
And the Muslim Brotherhood, the people, the jihadis, are not twisting the Quran.
I'm sure. I wouldn't know.
They are being consistent with it. And I see them as a far greater threat to the West than the state of Israel is. And so protecting Israel from Muslims, you could argue, is a roundabout way of protecting.
Why is that? Because Israel bombed Doha because they were doing we were doing a peace negotiation with Hamas. Why is that our job? Why is any of this our job? We've invaded the world and then we've imported the world. Let's just pull back because this is destroying our country. My wife had the same firearm at home that your bodyguards used to protect you. Is that fair or is that unfair? Why is
That's
it unfair?
That's a ridiculous argument.
But why?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous? Because you're more important than me?
No, I don't. You are trying to.
No, I'm asking a sincere question. Why should you get to protect yourself?
Our cops should not be outgunned.
No,
period.
I'm talking, not our cops. I'm talking
our military
cops.
shouldn't be outgunned.
No, your cops,
period.
Capitol Hill Police, have. Why don't we just limit them to the same gun I can have at home?
Why can't we have a real conversation about this?
This is a real conversation. Why is it nonsense? I'm merely saying that you have better protection than I do. And you're saying that my family doesn't deserve to have a certain species of weapon. You get to decide what we can protect ourselves with, but you're not going to in any way take the ability to protect you away from the Capitol Hill Police.
Israel, the political state of Israel has the right to continue existing.
The right? Where does that right come from? What do you mean? These are like, I'm not being a lawyer about it. I just want to know what you're asking me.
to answer the question.
Because I don't know what you're asking me.
Let's go to the
Wait,
third.
no. I think a lot. You don't want to define your question, and I don't know why. I don't know what you're asking me. I've already said I don't want Israel to be destroyed. I don't want anyone to be killed. And you've said, does Israel have a right to exist? Does it have my question is, what right are you talking about? Does Britain have a right to exist? Does the United States have a right to exist?
There was a world order built up after 1945 which suggested that aggression should not be condoned into countries, that countries with borders have the right to continue.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Which is why the first thing that Israel did within 2 weeks of this war starting, which is supposedly existential for them, was take southern Lebanon, take someone else's country, as they have done repeatedly. And no one even mentions that. And so I guess I would be opposed to that, because I guess I think Lebanon has a right to exist. I thought Gaza had a right to exist. But I noticed that as soon as we started portioning rights, only one country gets them.
No, I did not say that.
So in real life, in military terms, it's not a real fight between the UK and Russia. Why is he saying that? And why would beating Russia be on the even list of things to do if you're British? Because your people have been betrayed by you, and turning their rage eastward towards some guy who's got nothing to do with anything happening in the UK or Germany is the fastest way to keep your population in their narcotic case.
I totally disagree on that, but it's not important.
That's obviously true.
No, it's not. Because
it's not true.
I mean,
what's the threat from Russia?
Well, if you talk to intelligence people, if you talk to the military,
talk to the intelligence. They're not liars.
I mean,
I need to check in with German intelligence more often to find out.
German intelligence is not as good.
Blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Do they know? You've been talking to intelligence. What do they say about the Nord Stream pipeline?
Well, I think they're pretty sure that the Ukrainians did it.
The Ukrainians did it.
Yeah, but let's now talk about the risk of. Well, wait, Mr. Carlson. Let's talk about this threat.
I do know from working for 20 years, having people call me a racist, and I always say, if I was a racist, I would just admit it, and I would. I'm kind of a sexist. I'm not a racist. Just kidding. But I was like, why are they calling me a racist? You could say, you've gained 20 pounds, or you're obnoxious, or you're kind of nasty. All true. Why are they calling me a racist? I never got that. And then I realized they were calling me a racist so no one could hear on the other side that I actually agree on some issues. And they didn't want anyone to hear that. And the issues specifically that I agree on is I think the tax code is totally immoral. I don't think that people should be paying half the taxes for investing that other people are paying for working. I hate that, because it's not twice as virtuous to invest as it is to work for a wage. Sorry, I think that's wrong. Is that a liberal position? I have no idea, but no liberal's ever heard that, because he's a racist, shut up. Or he's divisive, or he fly fishes in Central Park, or who gives a shit? Actually, all of us are being played by the most powerful people in the world. That's my view. And by the way, they're not even politicians. My read from a lot of time, in this world, is that politicians have a lot less power than we imagine they do. And I think people are starting to figure that out. They take orders. Almost all of them take orders. So the question is, who are they taking orders from? And who made those people God? I didn't vote for them. And why is nobody protesting them? It's always some poor ICE agent who's just doing his job, or some cop. The problem is white cops. What? The guys who make $50,000 a year? And the left had literally nation-stopping violent protests for an entire summer because cops were white. It's I don't think we're going after the real criminals here. And the real criminals are people who are turning single-family homes into rental properties. They are people who opened the borders and made it too crowded for your kids to have a job.
Sovereignty is the freedom to make independent decisions. And Ukraine does not have that and has never had that since 2014, when its government was installed by an American coup.
Zelensky would say he was democratically elected.
Well, he's not democratically elected. He's passed his term.
Well,
and so by what authority hold on, let me question.
Go ahead.
By what authority does Zelensky negotiate on behalf of his country, rule his country? He just put his main political opponent under indictment and froze his personal funds under internal sanctions, the security services of Ukraine.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I don't
we just went through the same thing in this country.
Sounds like dictatorship.
What I'm saying,
by the way,
no, but he's not a dictator, and
then by what authority does he rule Ukraine?
So here's how he was elected, and now under their constitution, he does have the ability to stall elections and operate under martial law during the conflict.
So you're comfortable with people saying, "I'm going to"? No, he could certainly have an election if he wanted.
But he is empowered.
He doesn't want an election. You're from a political family.
It's the same thing with Israel right now. They're not having elections either because they're in the midst of an active conflict. It's not a time for transition of power.
Okay, but I don't know why we make excuses for dictatorship.
It's not a dictatorship.
Of course it is. Any unelected leader who has the power...
He was elected.
Actually, he has a presidential term.
Right.
If Joe Biden just said, you know what, we're in a conflict right now. I can't have elections. I'm canceling the election. Or if Donald Trump
But there's a constitutional provision for
this. Okay. He could have an election whenever he wanted. He could have an election right now. No one doubts that, actually. And his opponent was calling for that before he was just shut down by the Ukrainian intel services a week ago. So there's no authority. He doesn't have democratic authority over his country. What he has is a lot of NATO weapons. And to your second point, he has absolutely, as a matter of fact, the Ukrainian military has sold those weapons on the black market around the world. And they have these are facts. They've wound up in the hands of, among others, the Mexican drug cartels, the Taliban, Hamas in Gaza. Fact. And a lot of other groups. And it's incredibly destabilizing, by the way. The United States did this years ago in Afghanistan, as you know, and sent a bunch of Stinger missiles to the Mujahideen in 1979 and 80 to fight the Soviets. And those missiles caused huge problems for all of Southwest Asia for like 20 years. And so this is a big deal. And I don't know why people feel like they have to lie about it.